I'm going to make a drawing of an eye, and I just use a laser printer. I downloaded a picture of a face from Pixabay, a face of a girl, and I cropped it and printed it with a laser printer. And I also have a version that is lighter, so I can see the details better. So this is more or less my aim, to make it look a bit like this, but certain details you cannot see here. When you look at the eye, it's all black here, and if you print this with a regular photo printer, it will look better, but I just use my laser printer because it's convenient. But also when I print using photo print services, I also use a lighter version. But let's start. I traced it because I'm lazy. I just concentrate on hatching and so on. So I feel it's important to be able to draw this freehand, but I often do it this way as well. Why not? I just start with some hatchings in the eye. I usually start with the pupil, although, well, these aren't ongoing lines either, by the way, but I tend to I do not put real lines on the paper, but sequences of dots. I'm not going to talk all the time, by the way. And now I'm filling the whole area of the iris with a general hatching, I would almost say. But I use cross hatching a lot because it's boring, I feel, to only draw this way in one direction. I like a diverse array of directions. You can make beautiful drawings using hatchings in one direction. I mean, Leonardo da Vinci, one of the greatest draftsmen, made drawings, I think, with hatchings in one direction, so nothing wrong with that if you do it right. But I have this tendency, almost a sort of natural tendency, to use multiple directions in my hatchings. And when you look at this picture, you can see that this area is lightest and this is slightly darker than this. I'm actually using some lines now. I see myself. So you have these areas. And now I have the tendency to break the line a bit, so to speak, to not have these as real lines, but to add some accentuations. So when you make these videos, you start to get more self-conscious of what you are doing while you are drawing. Here the eyelashes a bit. And I have to be careful to leave this out, to not make this too dark. It has to be left white, this area. And the eyebrow. Also, you have these directions, the eyebrow. You see this here, and here, and here. So, on the one hand, I will use certain hatchings a bit in a different direction than these to make it a little bit darker in general, but I have to add lines to indicate these directions as well. So these hatchings may not be very dominant in their appearance, just to make it a bit darker. I'm really looking for this effect. And here you have this white line here, and I want to leave this white as well, but it's a bit complicated because it's such a thin area. So that's easily oops, there. You go through that quite easily, so I have to be careful with that. Oops, there's my pencil. I'll take another one. I always have multiple sharp pencils, so I don't have to sharpen a pencil while I'm drawing. And you have these reflections, I think, of these hairs, of the eyelashes in this highlight. Anyway, you see here these hairs, so it seems, so I have to be careful with that. And now I want to draw this area around the eye. So I did my best to get the eye more or less close to this. It's not finished yet, but now I want to draw a bit of the skin. And I actually like to use the structure of the paper and not disturb that too much with my hatchings actually in the area of the skin. So here I felt I had too much almost the structure of the hatching instead of the structure of the paper here. And I do not always draw on this type of paper, but I like this heavily structured paper. It's a bit like linen, almost. And now the eyebrow needs some more attention. And the thing is that while there are these directions, it needs to have this overall form. So one has to be careful with that. Going to work on the eyes some more. I actually taped the paper on the table because I'm making a video and I like to use my hands freely, so I don't have to hold the paper all the time. And now I'm looking at the things that I should do to finish the drawing. Trying to determine what needs to be done. I think that this area could be darker, more defined in a way. I'm looking at both these versions. And now I take another sharp pencil and I want to concentrate on the eye a bit more, try to make it more subtle. Sometimes when you have made the first part of the drawing, you know, you make the basic structure and you draw everything. Taking a little bit of rest helps you to ease on down a little and to make it more subtle. So I didn't really take a rest, but I'm trying to get this drawing into another phase in which I go a little more subtle into the details. And it's a matter of personal preference whether you actually want to have such a face in which you are going to make it more subtle. Sometimes it can have sort of, you know, it can have a certain expression which you do not want to compromise by being too subtle. It's also something to think about. And I want to take care that this is really the lightest part of the drawing. So I need to make this a bit darker. Surrounding area. Adding the eyelashes. It has to have, these eyelashes have to have a certain dynamic almost. In the sense that they are not just straight lines, but they have a certain form which is lively. And one of the things is to get this eye look moist on the paper. So therefore it's important to get these highlights right. And I'm slowly approaching the moment that I say I stop with this drawing, that I'm looking for areas which needs a little more work. I'm looking at this area here to get this more defined now. Seems like the eyebrow is a bit higher in my drawing than in the photo while I have traced it. So I'm wondering what happened, but anyway, it looks nice. I didn't really succeed in getting the directions of the eyebrow really right. That could have been better, but let's try it to make it a little better. Suggesting a little skin around this area. I think I leave it at this. Looking for the last things to do. I think this needs a little more accentuation. Yeah. And I have to watch out. I want to make this a little bit darker, but it almost looks as if I'm drawing a very large eyelash here. That's not what I wanted. But I think I want to make this more curvy. The form of the eye sockets a little more defined.